to discuss this breaking news alert is Fleur Hassan-Nahoum, Israel's Foreign Ministry Special Envoy and the former Deputy Mayor of Jerusalem. Fleur, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
So a lot to dissect this Sunday. More than dozens upon dozens of people injured in the suspected terror attack. Also learning that at least one death has been reported. What are you hearing on the ground in your area?
It's over 30 people who are injured in this terrible car ramming attack. It seems pretty clear there were terrorist motives to this. It's not clear if it's a lone wolf or it isn't at this point. There were a lot of elderly people, but the place is meaningful because it is outside or very nearby one of Israel's army intelligence centers. And so it looks like the intention was to kill soldiers. There were a lot of young soldiers there, but unfortunately, there were also a lot of elderly people walking around.
Fleur, you raise a great point that the intent could have been to kill soldiers. Put that into perspective, because we know Israeli Defense Forces, they're working around the clock dealing with Iran, Hezbollah, also Hamas, actively working to get those remaining hostages out of Hamas captivity as well.
I don't know how many fronts were fighting already. What's actually pretty depressing is that it seems that the perpetrator of this attack was an Israeli Arab citizen. And so the fear here is that there are small elements being radicalized within our own society, within our own citizens here in the country. And that is actually scary because on top of fighting, of course, all the proxies of Iran, fighting the Islamic Republic of Iran, fighting the Palestinians who have been completely subsidized, encouraged, and provided weapons by the Islamic Republic of Iran through Iraq and Syria. Now it seems that we may have an internal element to be fighting as well.
Fleur, you mentioned how scary it is, and I'm sure that's a nice way to put the reality you all are living there. I want to ask you about the sirens. Are they still going off on this Sunday? I spoke to an expert, Ruthie Bloom, a few days ago, also today, but I know a few days ago she told me she thought her alarm clock was going off and she was pressing it thinking that it was her alarm when in reality it was sirens. And she says the sirens have become a reality now to where you don't know what's really going on in society anymore.
Absolutely. So it started off, of course, with the north. In the north of the country, when Hezbollah attacked on the 8th of October, there have been non-stop sirens until last night, until this morning. Non-stop sirens. In Tel Aviv, in the center of the country, there have been more sirens than we've ever known. And of course, in the south of the country, until we managed to more or less disable Hamas, there were sirens going off anywhere around the south of the country. And unfortunately, we have a situation where for 20 years, children in the south of the country have gotten used to growing up with sirens, have gotten used to running for 30 seconds. And my own daughter, a week and a half ago, was running. She's in a program in the south of the country, and she was running for her life to a shelter, also with a 30-second margin of being able to protect themselves. So yes, sirens have become very much a part of everyday life here. It's absolutely incomprehensible how people can live like this. Imagine living in the city that you are living in, and this becomes part of your daily life, running to a shelter. It's absolutely untenable. And people are wondering why we have to go and defend our country. Well, we're defending our country from the most basic thing, which is having the right to live a normal life on a normal day without sirens.
And how do you explain that to children if they're at school, if they're outside playing with their friends and they're having to run and get to a shelter? How do you put that into perspective for them that this is something they have to worry about at their young age? Even adults such as yourself or school-age kids in college.
Well, let me just tell you, there's a lot of trauma and post-trauma in this country. And the day after, when these wars finish, and please God, we manage to get back control of our security here, then there's going to be a huge fallout of people in very deep trauma. But we're in the middle of it right now. And I've seen such creative ways that teachers have for trying to help kids in kindergartens as young as 2, 3, 4 years old to understand what the siren is about. I've even met people who've created children's school books, who've invented songs to be able to explain and talk children through the trauma of having to run for their lives as young as 3 and 4 years old. And so, yes, it's terrible that we have to live this way. And this is why we've had to go on a defensive to try and bring back peace and quiet to our country.
Yeah, and you talk about the unique ways of healing, Fleur, and it's kind of hard to think about the healing that's taking place because as soon as you try to get over one terroristic act, another one happens, right? There was a lot of focus on Hamas. Then as you're trying to deal with the hostages, then Hezbollah comes, then Iran. And then if we're being frank, the conflict with all three still underway. Concerns about ceasefire negotiations. We know Secretary Blinken was just there in the Middle East. We know Lloyd Austin has been out there. Are the talks of ceasefire a reality right now, knowing that you all are being hit from all sides?
Well, Israel just offered Hamas safe passage to leave as long as they return our hostages, and they've denied that. And so I don't understand what they're holding on for, because their military leadership is completely dismantled. They've lost this war, and somehow they're still cruelly hanging on to innocent people, including a 1.5-year-old baby.
Fleur, always a pleasure to have you here with us on Live Now. We appreciate your candidness on this topic. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we let you go? I know there's been a lot of concern this morning about the Biden administration's response to this conflict, telling Israel not to retaliate how they should. There's also been concern about Iran and what that retaliation might look like.
Well, today is the 27th of October, and today was actually signaled as the National Day of Mourning for the 7th of October. We had an official state service this morning with the president, the prime minister, all the chiefs of staff, etc. And so the day that we're mourning the most terrible loss of life, the most tragic and brutal way that many of these people killed, the fact that there are still people in underground dungeons of Hamas. This morning, we started the day with a truck ramming. So it's unfortunate that the region has still not accepted that Israel is here and is not going away. Israel is always prepared to make peace with people who can accept that we're here and they want peace with us. And so my message is that really, well, all we want are rational people around us that understand that this region could be incredible if they only just accepted our existence and accepted that we're not going anywhere. And that's where peace starts.
Fleur, truly a pleasure. Thank you so much again for joining us. I'm praying for your safety and your family's safety as you work to keep us informed. Thank you so much.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to give you